So today we are going to discuss about internet protocols used in optical fiber networks and wavelength routing networks. So in the internet protocol, it is actually a network layer. So the third protocol what we are using in OSI reference model, and that contains both the address and control information in a set of packets, or we also consider it as datagrams, which can be routed within any optical network. Then the internet can have a logical architecture which is independent of any particular network, and also it can permit multiple different networks which can be interconnected together and enable a networking node to communicate without the need to know which network it is using or how to route information between any of these networks which are interconnected. So the IP provides a means of communication between the link and the transport layers of the reference model. So a virtual connection is normally established, generally established between the nodes which require communication when IP is combined with a specific higher level protocol, such as a TCP, that is Transmission Control Protocol, or the User Datagram Protocol, or UDP. For this, TCP IP is preferred since this user datagram protocol does not guarantee any reliable delivery of a data in comparison with the TCP or IP. See, normally whenever we go with UDP or UDP protocol, that doesn't guarantee any sort of delivery acknowledgement, but that is done using this TCP IP protocols. So which generally has a encapsulation data from the link which is using Ethernet. So that is done based on a TCP IP protocol. So this IP provides a protocol for both the functioning of signaling and routing, which is required to carry the entire signal operation which is necessary to transmit and receive from the optical nodes. So that is done by using this internet protocol. Then a signaling protocols includes multi-protocol label switching (MPLS) and generalized multi-protocol label switching (GMPLS). So these are the two signaling protocols which are used in this switching process. While the routing protocols are considered to be open shortest path first (OSPF) and the intermediate system to intermediate system and the border gateway protocol BGP. So these are the three different routing protocols, and the earlier two were the signaling protocols. So we have signaling protocols used as well as routing protocols used in the communication system here. So three stages of deployment for the optical networks are considered here. The first generation, which is used to consider the asynchronous transfer mode, which can carry the IP packets, that is the IP over ATM, which is an efficient technique in comparison with the SONET or SDH networks. So that is a better way of transmitting the data over this packets using the IP. And this is how the TCP IP protocol is used with the network accessing the media, then UDP protocol. So these are the three layers used in the model. Transport layer, which uses TCP and UDP protocols, and network layer, which uses the internet protocol, link layer, which uses the network access. So these are the different implementation schemes for IP over wavelength division multiplexing or dense wavelength division multiplexing process. So these are the layers or schemes which are used by this IP. And we have the overhead requirements of the ATM cell with the overlap of IP packets which can map significantly outside the ATM cell size. So we have a service providers that are considering IP content which are directly over internet. So IP over internet can be considered here. In order to carry the IP packets, mapping of IP packets are directly done to SDH or SONET frames which is required, and the resultant technique is referred to as POS, that is packet over SONET. So this is one what we are going to consider in this concept. And this mapping of IP frames can be accomplished in three different stages. So in the first stage, the data is segmented into IP packets. So the data is divided, actually, the data is segmented into IP packets, which are then encapsulated via this protocol, that is point-to-point protocol, we call it as PPP. And the framing information is then added in the second stage. So initially the data is segmented, and in the second stage the framing information is added, and finally in the third stage the resultant data is mapped, and it is synchronously mapped onto the SDH frame or SONET frame. The second stage and the column shows three tiers comprising IP, a thin layer of SONET, and a dense wavelength division multiplexing process. The ongoing IP revolution, what we consider here, is going to suggest the SDH or SONET, which is not bandwidth efficient for IP packet transport. So here we have considered the ongoing revolution, which is going to suggest that SDH is not bandwidth efficient for IP packet. So, for example, if I consider SDH or SONET, so that is using synchronous time division multiplexing. So here in this case, time slot must be occupied, and to avoid the waste of capacity, the bandwidth has to be utilized to the maximum. And whenever there is no traffic which is flowing through this particular channel and the bandwidth channel, the bandwidth must be completely utilized, or it is waste of this bandwidth. So this can be improved if statistical multiplexing techniques are employed instead of just using this time division multiplexing, wherein the bandwidth is not assigned if the user has not requested. So that would be better design in terms of multiplexing, that is statistical multiplexing. Bandwidth wastage is avoided. So thus, particularly in this, a thin SONET layer is still present in the second stage with the switch over from wavelength division multiplexing to dense wavelength division multiplexing at the physical layer. So in the later case, we see that it is more useful if IP can be directly mapped into the dense wavelength division multiplexing. The removal of this ATM and SONET layers, which are required to produce IP, is possible due to the increasing sophistication of the optical and photonic enabling technologies. So hence the third stage of deployment for IP optical networks is expected to use this photonic or optical switching. And we realize that the IP which is running directly onto this DWDM physical layer has become a more important concern in optical networking process. So implementation schemes for IP over DWDM and the further development of IP over OTN are illustrated here in the next diagram we look into. Then IP over a point-to-point wavelength division multiplexing network is employing the optoelectronic conversion or optoelectrical conversion at the edges for the IP routing, which can be considered here. So in this case, routers are directly interconnected with the high capacity point-to-point wavelength division multiplexing links. So this is what we consider as the routers which are interconnected with the high capacity networks. Then the traffic is processed in the router and the packet level after converting the optical signal to electronic domain. So that is, we convert the optical signal into electrical quantity and extracting the packets from the signal stream. So most of the traffic what we are going to process by a router is transmitting traffic, which can be seen in the diagram later. Then the IP, which is considered here over the wavelength division multiplexing process of the architecture, utilizes the high capacity of the router, which require high throughput and power consuming routing. So that is a problem with this, which can require high power consumption and high throughput. So that is the issue with this. So this is the IP router. This is the wavelength division multiplexing device. This is optical to electronic electrical converter or electrical to optical converter. So this is the optical cross-connect switches which are used in this process. So this is about the protocol. So if I consider this, we have the internet protocol which is having some scalability problems which was earlier discussed, and delay or the average delay in this process is slightly more, that is increased average delay, and also the packet losses which is not making this network an efficient one. And there is also scalability problems since these routers are overloaded with certain traffic, and it is not scaled to increase the number of high-speed ports. So that is the issue with this. And if I go with that, I can use OXC, that is optical cross connect, which is internet protocol over OTN, where the traffic is going to pass through the node without any termination, which can be either switched in an optical cross connect or without optoelectronic conversion, or it can be forwarded by a router at a packet level after electrical to optical conversion. And here in this case, both IP and IP over wavelength division multiplexing and IP over optical termination network can be considered as a non-configurable one, since they rely heavily on the existing SDH or SONET technologies. And Internet Protocol over OTN does support a bypass of non-transmit traffic by separately placing an IP router onto the wavelength switching network. So in this case, traffic routing becomes more independent of a distance, instead where we consider the traffic between a node pair which can be routed in a single logical hops. So here the transit traffic can be considered in switching process in the optical layer, instead of forwarding it many times to a router, so that it can optically bypass this particular router in the network. And such optical bypassing is very important, and it reduces the traffic on individual routers, which can reduce the packet delay and network congestion. So this is what we consider, and the advanced version of IP over the optical switches has to be done, in which all the optical domain, that is without optical to electrical conversion, using either the optical packet switches or optical burst switches, has been used. The electrical to optical conversion, however, require the network edges for the controlling operation, which can be used to access this particular network. And the successful implementation of this IP over optical switches is with the development of these photonic integrated circuits, which are not commercially available yet. But using this, we are going to consider the networks in which wavelength path, that is optical label switched paths, which can be. So in this case, such networks in which the wavelength paths, which is optical label switched paths, can be dynamically routed in a integrated manner, and they are highly reconfigurable. So any reconfiguration can be easily done in this. So this is about the network. Then we have the wavelength routing network. So the optical layer is based on the wavelength dependent, where we say that it is above the physical layer, and we consider the physical interconnected network which provides the wavelength signal service among the nodes using either a single hop or a multiple hop. And three nodes are interconnected here in the example using two wavelengths channel, that is wavelength 1 lambda 1 represented as lambda 1 and wavelength 2 represented as lambda 2, where the solid line connecting the nodes represents the available wavelength channel, and the dashed lines identifies that the wavelength channel is used. So this is how node 1, node 2 and node 3 is considered, and we see that lambda 1, lambda 2 with the two different wavelengths. Similarly with this available wavelength and the wavelength which is already in use is identified by a dotted line and a solid line and a dotted line. In this particular network, if the network node 1 is required to connect with the node 3, then there is no single wavelength channel which is available to establish this light path which is in between node 1 and node 3. So when a light path cannot be established in a link using a single wavelength channel, it is referred to as wavelength continuity constraint. So here in this case, we have the wavelength continuity constraint from node 1 to node 3. And there is a methodology to reduce this wavelength continuity and node 2 by converting the incoming wavelength lambda 1 to lambda 1, lambda 2 to lambda 1, and enable the link between these two nodes 2 and 3. So wavelength conversion is required to convert from lambda 2 to a wavelength lambda 1 at the output port of network node 2 in order to provide a particular path for signal transmission. So hence we see that a newly set up path uses two different wavelength stages. That is, it has got two hops to interconnect two different nodes, node 1 and node 3. And such networks, what we consider here, are employing the wavelength conversion devices or switches, which are known as wavelength convertible networks. And several network architectures can be employed in this implementation of wavelength convertible networks. We see that three different wavelength division multiplexing network architectures are used here. Full wavelength conversion, in this case, where each network link utilizes a dedicated wavelength converter. And in the other case, we have the wavelength channels at the output ports of the optical switches, which can be converted into their compliant wavelength by appropriate wavelength converter, which is represented here as WC. So wavelength converter can convert the wavelength which is required by the output port. For example, if I consider the topmost wavelength converter in the diagram changes incoming lambda 1 into lambda 2, which is then connected to a multiplexer. So there is no need for any wavelength conversion of the local drop channels. And if it is not required to provide the wavelength conversion function within every network, then it is more cost effective to implement the networks with fewer and hence require a wavelength converter. And we have the system which have employing a large number of wavelength converters as wavelength converter bank, which is functioning on a shared basis per link and per node in the system. So the arrangement of wavelength converters, which is organized in WCB, is illustrated, and this figure depicts a wavelength converter block which is used in the optical fiber link, where only the required wavelength channels are switched to the wavelength switches. So the two optical switches which are used in this are required to construct a shared module per node, which is using a wavelength convertible architecture. So in this case, optical switches, two switches are converting the wavelength channels to their designated nodes, and a large number of wavelength channels on the network links are used, to which can increase or which is increasing the switching node complexity. And compared with the ordinary optical cross-connect switches, with which traffic can be used at the wavelength level separately. So in this case, the complexity is going to change, wherein we consider the fiber, wavelength, digital cross connects, etc. And if there is no termination of the particular path which can be identified, and we transparently pass it the signal through a particular node, and it may also be required to form a transport from one layer to another layer through multiplexers or multiplexers. And the complexity here can be reduced if more wavelength channels are grouped into one wavelength band, which can be switched as a unique channel. And such wave band switching networks have been proposed as a solution to reduce the complexity of this particular design. So in this case, we have the wavelength convertible network, which requires only a single input and single output port. The switching is independent of the number of wavelength channels which are used in this wave band. So this is how the demultiplexer operation is done, multiplexing is done, optical switches are used, and wavelength converters are being used in the design. So here the wavelength converting cross connecting switches and the fiber cross connecting switches are defined, and individual wavelength channels and the wavebands are terminated transparently through this particular layers. And and the output wavelength channels at the WXC layer can be multiplexed, which is into a waveband, which is then sent to the layer as an input. So the fiber may contain the same wavelength channel as the individual channel, and also it is incorporating in a waveband, and therefore network control is required in order to determine the wavelength which is grouped in a particular waveband. And consider the example wherein we have 10 individual fibers which can carry 1000 wavelength channels, and that is 100 in each, which are further grouped into 5 different bands, and each group will comprise of 20 wavelength channels. So when a single wavelength channel is intended to drop or add at an intermediate node, then instead of multiplexing or demultiplexing all the 1000 wavelength channels here, we consider just a single band of 20 wavelengths channels, that is from 5 groups, which is containing that the destination wavelength channel will be multiplexed or demultiplexed without affecting the traffic in the remaining 9 fibers which we are using. And the advantage of this WBS is that it can support a greater number of wavelength channels, first thing, and it also reduces the number of switches in the design, which reduces the complexity of the network, and the switches are the ports within the optical network. So that is how the functioning of this is, and this is how the wavelength to wavelength, waveband to wavelength demultiplexer and multiplexers are used with the FXC, that is fiber cross connect switches between the input and output fibers. And in addition to this, we see that the 4 bands out of 5 in which the selected fiber will also not be required to undergo the multiplexing or demultiplexing, which can drop or add a single wavelength channel. So clearly, implementation of such routing strategy requires the use of wavelength assignment and routing algorithm for all these networks in the system. So this is how we designed the input and output ports using the waveband to wavelength multiplexing and demultiplexing, wherein we are going to add and drop several wavelength from a set of wavelength channels or signals which are used in this concept.